Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to a special OAA Now Girls Basketball preview show here on the podcast this week here. I'm Sammy Taormina, blog around the OAA, the host of Last City Brain Cells and the host Tween Terminas on Orion Television. Like welcome those on the local voice on SoundCloud and those watching on Orion Television. Of course, this is the girls basketball preview heading into the 2025-2026 season. So a lot to cover heading into the season. Of course, some big changes, of course, around the league and some big-time storylines coming into the year. So you look at, of course, the storylines, you know, you think about that with the girls' side of things. And a lot of changes, of course, in the divisions, obviously. You got some new coaches in here. You got some new, there's also new teams and also some new storylines. So there's gonna be a lot to really look at as we head into the season. I mean, obviously, let's look at it. We're gonna start off with the gold division first, and then we're gonna go with the blue, and then we're gonna go with the white, and then the red. So the division this year, it's a four divisions like the boys. It's going to be interesting to see how, things go, especially with the way things are this season. So let's start with the divisions. We'll start with the gold division here. We're going to start off with Ferndale University. And Ferndale University, they got a new coach, and you look at, of course, with them, they got a lot of talent coming back. And you look at, of course, they got a new coach as well, and Brian Pickett taking over the job. And you look at the Eagles this upcoming season. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how Ferndale U does this year. And they had a lot of talent. You look at players they got coming back. They got Tanaya Crawford, Kezia Miller, Janai Reynolds, Jada Wilson, Tamaya Hill, Tamari Powell, Kendall Spencer, Tanaya Green, Noriah Pryor, and Area Matthews all coming back. The question for me is, how's that program strength looking? I mean, that's the question for Coach Pickett. Obviously, he comes over from the, he was at a really small school. I think it's Detroit Star International Academy. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for Pickett and the Eagles to see where they're at this year. And I think it's going to be interesting. They were not at Media Day. So it'll be very interesting to see how Ferndale University does heading in the year. Next, let's go to Oak Park. I mean, Oak Park, they've had some rough years under Coach Tyler Washington. 7-27 the last 2 years, coming off a 46-11 loss to Hamtramck in the district. In the first round. They do got the majority of the team coming back. I know they're very young. They got a very good freshman class coming in. So Oak Park, the program's coming. It's up and coming. So that's really where it could be really interesting. And I think Oak Park could make some noise this year. They could seriously contend in this division. I think they could. You know what I mean? But we'll see. I mean, we're going to see. Then we have Waterford. Waterford comes up from the Lakes Valley. Of course, Waterford is a combined school with Waterford Kettering and Waterford Mott merging. Coach Andrew Wellman took over the program a couple years ago. He's originally at Waterford Mott. They won 10 games in the Lakes Valley last season. Middle of the pack there. Lost to Clarks in the first round. They do have Savannah Sartoris coming back. That is a big addition for them. They got Sylvie Monroe, another one, Amaya Gailey, Peyton Eakin, and Morgan Koskin coming back. They do got a lot of soccer players coming back that Waterford's got up on the for the varsity program. So Waterford should be competitive in their new league, and I think that's going to be very interesting to see how they do heading into the year. Then we have Farmington. Farmington, they got a lot of talent coming back. And, you look at that team for Coach Andy Nowak, that's going to be something to really, really keep an eye on heading into the year. I mean, Farmington's a team that could really make some noise this year? Could they be one of the favorites? Absolutely in this division. They could make some noise, and I think they can contend. And I think, they could really, they'll make an impact this year. I think Farmington hope to have a better year after losing in the first round of Livonia Franklin 46-39 last season. So for Farmington, it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year. Be really, really interesting to see. And then there's North Farmington. Of course, North Farmington comes down from the blue. It was a really rough year for Coach Michael Law in his first year. But when you look at the Raiders, they do have a lot coming back. I mean, you look at players like Lucy Nemeth, who I'm very excited to see play. You got Haley Webley's another one, Julian Nostron's another one, and Shalaya Tarrant's another one to watch. I mean, but I think Lucy Nemeth's the key for Coach Michael Allen this season if North Farmington wants to turn things around this year. So that's something to really keep an eye on with the Raiders as we look at them heading into the year. And then there's Pontiac. And Pontiac, you look at this Pontiac team, and last year they were above 500. So I caught up with Coach Corey Lett talking about the state of the Phoenix heading into the season. The coach of the act, Coach Corey Lett here. Coach, last season you were above 500 last year. So talk about that momentum heading into the this season.
Well, it's exciting. It's very refreshing, especially taking a program from where you don't win a game. You fight through the whole season. You get to the point where you actually, like you said, a game over 500. It's very refreshing. We're trying to build off that this year. We had some adversity that's happened this past season that we have to overcome. A lot of rebuilding. But, that's what we're used to. We're ready to go at it,
Talk about the process. Obviously, you look at the process. It's been like you had that struggle early on, then you gotten better. So talk about how that process has been.
Well, with time comes good things. So, you got classmen, so your upperclassmen, they leave, and then you have new talent coming in. You got to build them up. And, it's very refreshing when you take somebody and build them into something that, from somebody that never played basketball, for example, our best player last year, being an athlete all around, being able to find out what our strengths were as a team and then capitalize on it. So this year's going to be some new challenges because we kind of lost our best player to Avondale this season. So we, looking forward to taking these younger girls that I have coming up and some of these upperclassmen that played a role. Now they're playing an even bigger role this year.
What is your expectation here, Coach? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So, get back to it here.
Played a role. Now they're playing an even bigger role this year.
What is your expectation here, Coach?
We're just going to be competitive. I'm a realist as a coach, so I can't say that we're going to try to win the division. We're going to compete. The teams that we were beating last year, we know they're going to try to come back for us. The teams that we should have beat, we're going to be really coming for them. So we just been expected to compete every time we step on the floor. Get these girls ready.
Thank you really much, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So I caught up with Pontiac Coach Corey Lett. I apologize here. I got all my interviews. These are done on my phone here. So, so you look at Pontiac this year. I think they're gonna surprise some people. I think Pontiac can make some noise this year if they can. You look at with them. I think it's gonna come down to is they got experience. Yes, they lost their best player. But they got a lot of experience coming back. So Pontiac could be a very dangerous team this year in this division. So when you look at the gold this year and you look at this division, you have to give an edge to Waterford here. Waterford's loaded with experience. Yes, they're young, but they're also loaded with some experience with Savannah Satoris. So I think she may be the key player in this division this year. Then I think it's North Farmington because you look at the Raiders, obviously Lucy Nemeth there, Michael Allen, of course, having that experience in the blue. Then it's Farmington. Farmington, I think right now looks like they're third right now. Then I have Pontiac fourth. I think Pontiac, I really like the experience they got coming back. Oak Park, I have fifth, and then Ferndale University, I have sixth. So, so there's a lot of question marks this year with this division. It's a wide open division, and you got to think about, how things are, and it's gonna be a lot of opportunity in this division. I really think that the early favorite has to be Waterford because of obviously Savannah Satori coming in there. Not a lot of, and also this is a new challenge for Waterford as well because for Waterford, you're coming into a new league, you're coming into a new division, a new conference. There's a lot of questions with them. Can they pick up the momentum? Can they pick up the can they develop basketball skills? Obviously, at media day, Waterford talked about adding soccer players, obviously, and we know how soccer athletes are. And particularly, you look at teams like Waterford Kettering, who's got a lot of athletes. Waterford Mott, they have a lot of athletes. So it's going to be interesting to see how Waterford does, how they handle program strength. That is a big time question there. Oak Park, I am concerned about program strength with them. Pontiac, same thing, concerned program strength with them. Ferndale University, I am very concerned with program strength. Farmington and North Farmington, of course, both those schools are going to be leaving the OAA at the end of the spring season. They're going to be going to the Lakes Valley Conference. So both those two teams will be so this will be a brand new division next season. So it'll be something to really watch for as we head into in the future years, is how will the gold look like, especially heading into next season. So there's a lot of question marks looking at this with the Raiders. With both Farmington and North Farmington going into a new league. So it'll be very interesting to see how both those two teams handle life in the OA for one more year before they depart the league and head to the Lakes Valley Conference. So right now, if I had to say an early favorite in this division, I have to say Waterford. But keep an eye on, I think Farmington and North Farmington could be serious contenders. Pontiac looks to be the wild card. Oak Park, I got some questions with them despite having a lot of experience coming back. Ferndale University, they're going to be going through a coaching transition with the new coach. So we'll see what happens with them going forward with them. Now let's go to the blue here. And I think the blue is going to be very interesting because we got to talk Ferndale. And Ferndale, they just got a new coach. Of course, I will talk about this in the podcast on the podcast on Monday the 17th. I'll break that down with their new coach. They just named I got my notes here. They just named and obviously I gotta get my stuff here, but they just named a new coach recently, and you look at, of course, with Ferndale, as you don't know what you're gonna expect with them. You don't know what they're gonna have a new program, they're gonna have a new coach. It's basically a new system. That's really what it is, and for Ferndale, that's really what it is. And you look at the Eagles, they got a new coach in April Johnson. Of course, played at Detroit Renaissance. So for her, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a big-time challenge, especially with the talent that they've lost. Can she put a program in place at Ferndale? And that is the big-time question. I know that there's been a lot of success at Ferndale High right now with the girls' volleyball program, getting to the state quarterfinals, winning a district championship and a regional championship. You got to wonder if Johnson will look into that route when it comes to players. And I think that would be key if you're Coach Johnson, to really look at the volleyball program, to see what the interest is in playing basketball, and go from there. And I think that'll be something to really watch for going forward with Ferndale. Is, can they field a program? Can they field a competitive team in this division? That is the big question mark with the Eagles. And can they do it? That's the big time question mark for them, is can they handle that? Can they handle that? And that's the big question going forward with Ferndale, is, that transition period. Can they field a program? That's going to be the challenge for them going forward. So that's something to really watch for with them. Then let's look at A&T. A&T, last season, I felt like at times they overachieved last year. And That says a lot about A&T. And, last year, I know you got to give credit Coach Shakia Coltrane. She did a wonderful job getting the Warriors as a top seed in their district. A&T really had a lot of success. And you look at, of course, with them is A&T can really, they fell 52-47 in the Blooming Hills in the district semifinals. They did lose some key players, but they do have some key players coming back, like Samaya Ashford. Ashford could be in for a monster year for Coach Coltrane, and I think that says a lot. I mean, the only question that I have with A&T this year is going to be program strength. But they do got talent. They should be athletic. They're going to be very athletic. Defense is another question mark for me with A&T. Especially when you're an up and down team, you tend to you score a lot, but you also give up a lot. So that's really the big question for Coach Coltrane is, can A&T have that defensive success that they've had in years past? And if they do, then they could be in line for a very, very good year. So A&T's a team to really watch for this upcoming season. So A&T, really high on them. They can make some noise this year heading in the year. Then we have Troy Athens. And when you look at the Red Hawks, Athens is a very interesting team because Athens has been, you don't know what you're going to get with them. Defensively, they look, it's either offensively they look good at one point, then defensively, not so much. And then you have the other side. Then defensively, they look good at times. Offensively, it's just the consistency. That is the big question for Coach J.C. Klump and Troy Athens. They have a star player, Katrina Tasic. But the question for me with Coach Klump's team is going to be consistency. Because, they've done all the things right. They've team bonded. They've played in fall league. They played different teams. But consistency is the big question mark for me when it comes to Athens, because there were moments where this team looked really good. They knocked out Troy in the regular season, only to fall short in the first round in the playoffs last year. You lose four key seniors. You lose including Alex Link. That's a big loss. But you do have Katrina Tasic, as mentioned, and Kate Malone coming back. They also got other key players as well, like Annabelle Barulian, Taryn Frisching, among others. Program strength has been solid for Athens. But the big question for me with Troy Athens is going to be is, can they be, they got to be more consistent. If they're consistent, then I think they're going to do some significant damage this year. So that's my challenge for Troy Athens. It's going to be is consistency. Consistency is always the hallmark of greatness. That's what Oakland men's basketball coach Greg Campy told my brother, Anthony Taormina, of course, host of History Now, by the way. Consistency is always the hallmark of greatness. So for Athens, that's the key for them, is consistency. That is going to be the key for them going forward. Then let's go to Harper Woods. And Harper Woods is a very interesting team. Now, they were not at Media Day. Of course, Coach LaToya Tate, they won 10 games last year. But they lost in the district semifinals to St. Clair Shores, South Lake. And you look at Harper Woods, excuse me, there's some question marks regarding program strength for the Pioneers. There is a lot of questions with them when it comes to that area. That's the key for Harper Woods, is can they build on program strength? This is where program strength comes into play. They do have a player in Lanaya West coming back. That is a big deal for them. They got others as well. They got Adora Stewart and Amari Hutchinson also coming back. But West is the key player for LaToya Tate. For Harper Woods, West is going to have to be the key for them, because if she struggles, Harper Woods will struggle, and I think that's really going to be where the issues lie if Harper Woods does struggle this upcoming season. Next, we have Troy, and we look at the Colts here, and you look at everything that program's been through. You look at, of course, everything. Last year, that team struggled. They struggled. I mean, like, coming into the year, I had a lot of expectations for Troy. And they had a tough schedule. They ran into Clarkston. They played Lake Orion. I mean, they had it. They had things rough. Injuries actually doomed them. The injury to Diamond Prince really hurt them. And they just weren't the same team after that. Now, you look at this team this year, they lose Diamond Prince. She transfers out of state. And you still have some key players coming back, and also you lose some key players. You lose Reagan Zeider, you lose Sophia Castanis, Kelsey Block, you lose Savannah Otley, Allie Van Tuzen, Victoria Segan. You lose all those players, then now you're going to be thinking, okay, and then you look at, of course, then you lose Diamond Prince into that. That's going to put pressure on Coach Laura Guzman and the Colts to see if they can get it right. I look at this Troy team and I say to myself, there has to be so much pressure on this team now because of the fact that this team has not gotten the job done. You can look at the game last year against Utica Ford. Tina went to state quarterfinals a year ago and say, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that was a big win for them. Yeah, that was a huge win for them. But you really feel like in the minds of a sports expert, when is Troy going to be able to finally break through? You look at the sophomore class Troy's got. This is a proven class, really proven class. And then you look at returning players like Macy Zeider. You look at, of course, you have Carly Higginbottom. You look at Olivia Sprangler. I mean, like, those are three players that are going to be key players for Troy if they want to make noise this year. I mean, like, the big three. You know, you look at Higginbottom, Zeider, and Spangler. You know, anytime you have a returning big in the post and also two proven shooting guards, you know, that puts you in line for success along with program strength. So you look at with Troy's situation, to me, when I look at with Troy, you know, this has got to be the year for them to deliver results. Because if this team doesn't, then there's going to be some questions. And you look at Troy, you look at this Troy team, and, people are going to say, when is this going to be the time that Troy breaks out? You know what I mean? This is going to have to be the year. You know what I mean? Like, you look at last season, of course, obviously, with the expectations, they did not deliver on those. Now you look at this season, there's high expectations on Troy. So, for me with Troy, it's now or never with the Colts. I mean, like, coming into the year. I mean, like, I have Troy one of the teams that I'm really high on this year. Can they deliver? Can this team deliver? That is the big time question I have with Troy this year. So that's something to really, really keep an eye on with them. Then let's look at Rochester Adams. And Adams, last year, you look at this Adams team, they had they were riddled by injuries. They were just ridiculed by injuries. And they had a really disappointing loss to Romeo last year. So I caught up with new Adams coach Justin Howard to talk about the state of the Highlanders heading into the season. The new coach of the Highlanders, Coach Howard here. Coach, taking over a program. You have a lot of experience with the program. How was the experience that you learned from Coach Shea Lewis and also Joe Malberg brought you into the system?
So I think structure, practice plans, as well as I think a key thing that I want to make sure the girls are learning, but having fun. So there's a lot of things that I learned from those different coaches that, if they enjoy coming to practice, then you get good results.
Talk about this team. You got experience. You got Faith. You got Jarrell. You got Nadia. I mean, like, you guys got a lot of experience, but the thing I worry about is the mental part of it, because you guys are in the blue this year, and you look at your arch rivals being in the red. So talk about that mental psyche of getting over that Rochester hump.
So it was funny, the theme of today with a lot of the teams were cohesiveness, the chemistry. And I just spoke with the girls 2 minutes ago saying, chemistry is going to be key. Those 4 have chemistry. The whole umbrella needs to have that chemistry. So I think that mental piece will slowly disappear if we can make the chemistry work. I think basketball is basketball. I mean, you're going to learn, you're going to lose, you're going to win. There's going to be different things, but once you get that cohesiveness and grow together, I think that's going to make the season a lot more exciting.
What is your expectations here, Coach?
I think my expectations are fun, and they need to learn. And I think with the staff that I brought in, I talked about my 3 assistant coach. I got 3 former alumni. I have a veteran freshman assistant coach. I got his son. So, I just had my JV staff. So I got a chance to get multiple coaches on all levels. So I think the growth of the program is going to depend on how much teaching we can do over the next couple of months. So
thank you really much, Coach.
Thank you.
And when you look at Adams this year, and you look at this program, especially with the assistants that Coach Howard is bringing in, Adams has a chance, I think, to make some big-time strides in this division because of the coaching, because of the experience. The key for Adams is going to be, and Coach Howard said it best, chemistry. It's pretty simple. Chemistry. Because bottom line is, you look at this team with chemistry, this team's got it. Fade Solis. George, you look at a player like Nadia Hebner. I think Nadia Hebner could surprise some people this year. I know how good Fade Solis has been. I remember talking to Coach Malberg multiple times about this on this podcast. And you look at, of course, with Adams, the only issue that they have is mental psyche, mental mindset. That's the thing. You look at a player like Jordan Jarrell, they got Layla Tomzak coming back. Reagan Moore, Alyssa Stevens, Nora Kamaj. That's the key, is chemistry. Can this team put it together? They're in a tough district. They got a very tough district. When you look at Clarkston's in there, Lake Orion's in there. You got Avondale's in there. Those are going to be key matchups. And you're going to have to see Adams and Stony Creek in your non-conference this year. So for Coach Howard, the challenges are there. It's just that mental psyche. That's going to be his challenge this year. That's the key for Adams if they want to make some noise this year. The mental psyche. So when you look at this division, you look at the blue, and you think about this. Troy has to be the favorite because of who they got back. But Adams will have a say here. I think Adams could have a say here because of their experience. You look at players like Faith Zolis, Jordan Jarrell, Nadia Hebner. And you have a coach in Coach Howard that I think could get everything turned around quickly. And we all know the story for Coach Howard. He learned under Coach Shea Lewis. He learned under Coach Joe Malberg. I think Adams could surprise some people this year. Now, he's going to have to address program strengths. I know he hired some key assistants, including former girls basketball standout Amber Jamison. We all know what Amber Jamison did, especially at Northwestern. When I see Amber, I have a lot of respect for her. And that says a lot. I'm telling you, Adams could be scary. But I still think Troy has to be the favorite. Troy has to be the favorite because you look at Troy and say, okay, you got Spangler, you got Macy Zeider, you got Carly Higginbottom. Macy Zeider has got to take a big step forward this year for Coach Laura Guzman. She has to take a big step forward. If she doesn't, it could spell trouble. Then I think Troy Athens right now would be next in line. Athens, obviously, the consistency troubles. That is a big-time question mark. A&T, I think A&T is a scary group to keep an eye on. You look at this division, it's not easy. It is not an easy division. So you look at this division inside out. You gotta think Troy has to be the favorite. Then Adams, then Athens, then A&T, and then Harper Woods. I mean, Harper Woods, I got concerns with their program this year. I really do. There's some big time question marks for them. A&T, I mean, but usually my divisional projections have been wrong. So, so it wouldn't surprise me. I think A&T could take a step up this year. I think Athens could take a step up this year. But right now when I look at the division right now in the blue, I still think that division's either going to be Adams or Athens. I'm sorry, Adams or Troy. Those are the two teams that I think could make some noise. I mean, Troy, Athens, A&T are both my wild cards. So that's something to really keep an eye on. And then, of course, we mentioned Ferndale. Ferndale, we don't know the situation involving them. Will they field a program or not? That's the big-time question for them, for Coach Abel Johnson, is will they be able to field a program? And I think that's really going to be the challenge for them going forward. So we'll see what happens with them. So we will see what happens. Now let's go from the blue to the white. And when you look at the white division this year, it's an interesting division. I mean, you look at Seaholm's a team that lost a lot of talent from a year ago. I mean, a lot of experience. So Seaholm, really, when you look at the Maples this year, I mean, they got Eddie Chrisman coming back. There's a lot of question marks for Coach Chris Manchester. And you really look at the question marks for them as, they lost a lot of experience. They lost a lot of so it's gonna be interesting to see. They do have Hazel Guffey, Jada Jaworski, Leah Stanford, Shea Simpson, and Aaron Shekel coming back, and that's gonna be big for them. So there's a lot of questions though. Is can they replicate last season's success? Even though it was a very disappointing year and they lost to Birmingham Marion in the district semifinals, Seaholm's more than capable. And I think they could really make some noise this year if they perform to their standards. So we'll see what happens. Then we have Royal Oak. Coach Chapata. Very similar defense-first philosophy. Won a district last year. This team won a district last year. And, they lost a lot of talent. When you lose players like Lucy Freitag, Maddie Lawrence, Hannah Sanders, Chelsea Dealin, and Jordan Hills, that's hard to replace. You do return Demaya Jackson, Alyssa Verlosky, Lydia Dickens, Mia Masseni, Alice Hills, and Vivian Lawrence. That helps things. I expect Lydia Dickens to have a big year. I expect her to. Because offensively, I've heard a lot of things about her during the AU season. I have heard a lot of things. She's been making noise, making impacts. I mean, you look at Royal Oak, they got a great coaching staff there. I mean, Brian Zapata does a really nice job. Michelle Scar, who's an assistant over there at Royal Oak, formerly was the head coach at Waterford Mott. She does a really good job over there. Royal Oak, can they get back to being Royal Oak? Program strength's a big concern for them. I'm curious to see what the Ravens look like this year. I'll be very curious. But they've got some issues. They've got some things to fix. So that'll be something to really watch for with them. Then we have Bloomfield Hills. Oh, sorry, not Bloomfield Hills. We're going to go with Groves. Groves, Jessica Dibble has done a really nice job with this program this offseason. I've watched the videos. I've watched a lot of things from afar with them. Harlem Simpson is a star. Obviously, Harlem, of course, is the sister of John Gibson. So, you look at Harlem Simpson, the way her game is built, almost similar to that of her brother. Very talented player. Then you put her along with J.C. Roy. J.C. Roy is a very good guard. She can dribble, drive, shoot threes. My biggest pet peeve with Coach Jessica Dibla's team is the interior. I know she's high on Soapy Swanner. I know she's high on her. I've got some serious concerns. Swanner's going to be the key to Groves' entire season. The reason why I say that is because if Groves has to rely a lot on Simpson and Roy, that could be a big-time problem. They have to have balance if Groves wants to win a division title this year. If they want to be a Birmingham Marion in a district tournament, they have to have balance. I think Groves has the guard part figured out. The interior is the big question. Program strength is another worry that I have with Groves. That is another question I have with them. They have pieces. They have the talent to be competitive. Can they win their first district championship since 2021? Can they win a division? Yes, they can. They're more than capable. Can they win a district championship this year? Yes, they're more than capable. For Groves, they just got to get by Birmingham Marion. That's really what it is. Groves, they should be scared. They're going to be scary. But also, there is some red flags with this team. There really is. There's positives with Groves, and there's red flags with Groves. That's the question that the Falcons have. Social media is fine, but you got to go in and do the work. That's the thing. I know Coach Jubal has made some big-time changes this offseason, but my biggest concern with Groves is going to be program strength. That is the big-time concern I have with that program. So we'll see what happens. Next, we go to Bloomfield Hills, and we look at the Blackhawks this year. They're going to be an interesting team this year. They're very interesting. So I caught up with Coach Bernardo Brown, mistakenly admitting on me with Coach Steve. Of course, my dad knows him really well. So I caught up with Coach Brown talking about the Blackhawks. Here at Bloomfield Hills, last season you lost a lot of talent from a year ago.
Slow you down. Coach Brown.
Oh, Coach Brown. Sorry.
That's your boy, Steve.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you look at this team. You lost 9 seniors last year. So talk about, how the development's been going for you guys. Starting over a little bit.
It's starting over a lot. We graduated 9 seniors. So we got a pretty young team. Hopefully, have about 3 or 4 freshmen up on the team this year. But we've been working out hard. And I'm just telling them, just play hard. We're a defensive team and see where we go from there.
What is your expectations? Of course, you look at this team and, having to replace a lot of talent. So talk about, is it a day-by-day step? So talk about how that process has been going.
Well, it is a day-by-day. We got a lot of babies. And so each day we work out with them. Like in the summer, I see a big improvement. Matter of fact, I think the freshmen is very talented, but saying that, you never know how they're going to play out playing on the varsity level, because I coach a lot of them when they was in the middle school.
What is your expectation this year, Coach?
That's a tough one. Hopefully we could be 500.
Thank you really much, Coach.
All right.
So that was Coach Johnson talking about the Blackhawks' very young team. When you look at Bloomfield Hills, very, very young team. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Blackhawks have this season when you look at the Blackhawks. Then let's look at the Bears of Berkeley. Of course, from Coach Clay Shaver's team. Really high on this team, considering who they got coming into the program and also who they got coming back. And when you look at Berkeley, this has been a team that's been up and coming. And you look at last year for them, losing key players like a Leah Green or Haley Kirkwood, Avery Wintergarten, a Lily Larson, Walbrack, and a Maddie Bonsall. Those are big, big losses. I mean, Berkeley does have Olivia Church, Amasha Diop, Kaylee Tracy, Nadia Watt, Molly Askin, and Blessing Nowicki and Caitlin Stills coming back. And that's not counting the addition of Nico Shoulders, who is a big 6'2" post player, and you look at what she's been doing in the AU circuit. So you look at with Berkeley, and you think of, and then you have program strength with them. Berkeley's program has been up and coming. My biggest concern with Berkeley is when they have to see a team like Detroit Renaissance in their district. The problem that I have with them is that it's different styles. And obviously we know the pace Detroit Renaissance likes to play. We know the style of play. Berkeley has a lot of proven players along with Nico Shoulders, who's unproven the postseason. But we've heard a lot about her. So that's going to be the challenge for Coach Shaver is how Shoulders fits in, and will she be the focal point? Because you have Nadia Watt as well, who could be a focal point, and also Kelly Tracy could be a focal point. So those are some big questions for them this year. Berkeley should be competitive this year. I expect them to be one of the top teams in the white. So the only concern that I have with them is going to be different styles. I said this to him last year at Media Day, was how are you going to adapt to different styles? Now, lucky for them, Detroit Renaissance wasn't in their district. Now they are. Yeah, they're in a district with Detroit Mumford. They're with Detroit Renaissance. I will be very curious to see how Coach Clay Shaver matches up with Coach Sean Wood and the Phoenix. I will be very, very curious to see how that one goes. That'll be something to really watch for. I mean, there is a lot of questions this year with Berkeley. A lot of them. We'll see what happens. Then, let's look at Avondale. Avondale is a very interesting team. They had a lot of experience last year. They lost some key players like Clea Bradley, Amari Daniel, Morgan McPherson, Ansha Watson, Madison Manyweathers, and Lauren Mago. Those are some key losses. They have Sasha coming back. That's going to be key for Coach Chrisman. That's going to be very key. So I caught up with Coach Roy, talking about the state of the Yellow Jackets. And also, Sasha chimed in and talked her thoughts as well. Hey, Coach Roy Chrisman here, Coach. Last season, very successful year for you guys. I mean, you guys won the blue, of course, now you're in the white. So talk about that transition for going from the blue to the white this year.
I think it's going to be good for us. We're going to compete, as always, looking to win it, as always. So I think it's going to be a good thing for us, a good change.
One thing I've noticed this year, of course, Sasha, you're back. The question is, who's going to be the Robin to the Batman? And, of course, Sasha playing the role of the Batman. So talk about, you know what I mean, Roy, you can chip in on this too, but, any Robin candidates for you guys?
Personally, I think freshman Demaya Owens Carter, I think that she's going to be the Robin to my Batman this year. Also, Janae Richardson, she could be possibly one of that.
What's your expectations here, Coach?
As always, win. Of course, we got a super tough schedule. We playing West Bloomfield, Stony Creek. So we got a tough schedule, but we always going to compete, and we always looking to win those type of games. So win is the goal.
Thank you really much, Coach.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
So you look at Avondale, and you look at that team, you look at Avondale, yes. I mean, there was a lot of questions for Avondale when you look at, of course, who's going to be the sidekick to Sasha. That is the big question. I think there's a ton of candidates. They got a tough schedule. Division's tough. District's brutal. You got In that district, you got Adams, who should be improved. You got Lake Orion. Of course, Lake Orion last year, Avondale split. Then you have Clarkston in there. And they got to play West Bloomfield for their non-conference, which is brutal. Really brutal. But I expect Avondale to be in that conversation. I expect me in that conversation this year. I do. See, look at the white right now. I would have to give that division edge to Groves right now because of Simpson, Roy, and Swanwick. You know what I mean? Swanwick's the big question mark for me in the interior for Groves. Then I have Avondale second because of Sasha. Berkeley, I have them third. Then I have Seaholm fourth, Bloomfield Hills fifth. So you really look at and Royal Oak. Sorry, I forgot to put Royal Oak in there. I have Royal Oak actually fourth. Then Seaholm 5, and then Bloomfield Hills 6. So you look at projections, they can always be wrong. So, and a lot of times, usually my projections have usually been wrong. So, but right now, if I had to pick a team right now who's got an early edge right now, I would say it is Groves right now. But Avondale and Berkeley could have really strong says in this division. So we'll see what happens. Then let's go to the red. And the red is very interesting. There's a lot of storylines in this division. When you look at the teams in here, we're going to start with Oxford. Oxford, of course, was not at Media Day. Obviously, Coach Trevor Marshall is an assistant under the volleyball program at Oxford that's really had a really surprising postseason, making the state quarterfinals behind 5-game thrillers against Lake Orion, Clarkston, Chippewa Valley, and Romeo. Now they're playing Bloomfield Hills. So Coach Marshall was not at Media Day, but when you look at Oxford this year, when you look at this team, there are some question marks. They did lose a lot of talent. When you look at Oxford, they did lose some key pieces. And Oxford, you think about with them is, they're going to be tough. They're going to be competitive. And they're going to have hard fight games. So you look at Oxford, they lost Sophia Robb, Allison Hufstedler, Emma Beggs, Nina Kraft, Vivian Cruz, Tegan Lepping, Brittany Cardona. Those are big losses. Big losses for them. Look at they got back. You got Tegan O'Connor, obviously you look at what she's done in the throws area in track and field. Then you have Caitlin Brockway, Mia Champagne, Cameron Crittert, Jane Jacobson, and Claire Brisky coming back. Oxford's key this year is basically going to be Champagne and Brockway. Reason why I say that is what they made a lot of impact this summer. They made an impact. Both of them have. So for Coach Marshall, it's going to be key for him to ride those two players. Their district's tough. I mean, considering they got Grand Blanc and Davison in there. So that's going to be challenging, even though they will host their district. So Oxford, when I look at, they're going to be competitive. I am concerned about program strength with Oxford. I know they got an 8th grader who has been getting a lot of attention thus far. So I think for Oxford, I know she'll be the next face of the program within maybe like the next 2 years. So that'll be something to watch with them. So Oxford could be a team, but program strength to me surrounding Oxford is a big time concern, and that's something to watch for them going forward. Is program strength, building the program. That's going to be the most critical part for this program going forward. So that's something to really, really watch for with the Wildcats is program strength and really something to really watch for with them going forward. Then let's look at the Falcons of Rochester. Rochester was not at Media Day as well. I don't know where they were at. But Rochester coming up from the white. They won the white last year, going undefeated. They won 19 games. Earned the second seed in their district. Lost to Stony Creek 35-32. They lost Alice Max and Kylie Robinson. So for Coach Andatopi, so you lose your two top bigs. You have some proven guards in the program, like Estella Marlowe, who's going to, I think she's playing lacrosse. I heard about that. Taylor Parsons, who's a very good player. Emma Max, we know what she can do. I mean, like, you have Angela Chachowski. It's got a lot of experience come back, and Ezra McDonald is another one for Rochester who can make some noise. Rochester could be a very good team this year. They could be a very good team. The question for me is going to be who do they replace in the interior? That is the big question. And most likely they're going to use a lot of that pressure defense that Coach Jeff Haney loves when he was at Rochester. That pressure defense could do a lot of things for you. Could very well do a lot of things. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. So Rochester could be a team that could really make some noise this season in the red. And that could be something to really watch for with them. Then let's look at Stony Creek. Stony Creek's a very interesting team because last season, Stony Creek won 14 games. They lost on a very controversial 49-46 game to Utica Eisenhower. That was just absolutely atrocious, that call last year. That was atrocious. But Stony Creek did not do themselves any favors either. They missed free throws, turned the ball over. Very uncharacteristic of them last year. So now you lose some key pieces. You lose Merrick Schlauback. You lose Micaiah Jenich, Sophie Bozek, Taylor Fulkerson, Jenna Cook. Stony Creek has coming back as the Avash sisters. Abigail, Kalista, and Izzy. Along with Kendall Collier, Jessica Kennedy, Zara Nagel, Samantha Fulkerson, and Jalen Freeman. I think Samantha Fulkerson is the key to Stony Creek's season. You look at the reason why. Because you look at having the Avash sisters, having all that link. I know that they have had a lot of attention this year. Excuse me. They've had a lot of attention this year. You look at Jalen Freeman, I know what she's capable of. But I think Samantha Fulkerson's the whole key. Because, she's been there. I don't know. You look at with this team, I mean, they need a true point guard. Jalen Freeman, she's a good player, don't get me wrong. She's not a true point guard. And I'm not being mean to her. I know Coach Columbus Williams had her playing point guard at times. And obviously, you're not going to put the Avash sisters to play a point guard spot. Point guard's a big concern there for Stony Creek. Another concern for me is depth. Depth is a big concern for Coach Williams' team. Then you look at program strength. Yes, they might have a freshman program. They might have one. But there's concerns. I've got concerns with Stony Creek. I know everybody's high on them. I got warning signs here. They're in the top district with Utica Eisenhower. I mean, they got Rochester in there as well. Those are not easy games. Yes, they see Rochester twice. But if there's a team that really scares me on this schedule, in a bad way, this is it. There's warning signs all over it for Stony Creek. There really is. And, you have a new athletic director in Todd Negoshian, too, taking over that program. So, it's going to be key for Stony Creek to have a good start. Gain some confidence. It's going to be key for them. I mean, that's the concern I have for Stony Creek this year is, obviously you have the Avashisters, you have Freeman. I think Fulkerson's the key. She plays well, Stony Creek's going to have a very nice year. If she doesn't, then they have the turmoil like they did last year. There could be some problems. Because Stony Creek's not a deep team. So there's a lot of questions with that program. A lot of questions with Stony Creek this season. But they can be good. They can be very good. We'll see what happens. Then let's look at Clarkston. And we look at the Wolves this year, and I think, they got some talent coming back. They got some proven talent. Even though they're young, they still got veteran presence. When you have players like Eliana Roback, Brooklyn Culver, Kayla Bucky, Bella Flavin, Micaiah Bond, Claire Alexander, Ava Wasilic all coming back, that says something. Then you have Kylan Cumberworth and Sydney Miles coming back. And let's not mention this 8th grade class is very good that they have coming up. They're going to be good. So I caught up with Coach Aaron Goodnow. We talked about the state of the Wolves. The coach of the Wolves, Coach Aaron Goodnow here. Coach, you do got some experience coming back from last season. You made the regional final a year ago. So talk about last season and obviously talk about Eliana and Brooklyn.
Yeah, we had a great season, won the league for the first time in, I can't even remember how long it was. Got to the regional final, had a very close game there as well. Yeah, we've got 3 key players coming back for us, Ellie, Brooklyn, and also Bella Flavin. And we had the opportunity over the summer to really have some of our younger players play in the summer and got to see some things from them as well. So I think our first 5 is probably pretty well set for us, and then it's just going to be a matter of what we're going to look like coming off the bench.
Talk about that schedule. It is murder. It's brutal. I mean, so that non-conference, very brutal. So
yeah.
How is that schedule going to prepare you guys, especially come postseason time?
Yeah, I love scheduling hard up front. I love playing those tough games in December so that you're ready for January. But for us, even going into January, we're playing a team down in Ohio that's a good team. We then turn around and play Powers. But I love playing those games so that you're ready for the postseason and you're tested. So it's never going to change as long as I'm there.
What is your expectations here, Coach?
We're looking to win the league. I mean, if I didn't say that, I'd be shirking some of the girls, and I think we're looking to still be right there for the league. I think, and I'll be very honest with you too, I think Rochester's a great addition. Rochester's going to be tough. They're experienced. They usually coach really well. So I think it's going to be in the red. It's just going to be a test every single night.
Thank you really much, Coach.
Thank you.
So that was Clarkson coach Aaron Goodnow talking about the state of the Wolves here. Only concern I have with Clarkson is everybody knows he's getting the ball late. It's either going to be Roback or Colbert. Maybe Flavin, but it's going to be those 2. So it's kind of like, I look at it with Clarkson, you know what I mean? I'm not, it's kind of like everybody knows he's getting the ball. Everybody is. Everyone knows. I mean, the question for me is, who steps up besides the big 3? Who steps up? Who would you feel confident taking the last shot besides those 3? A lot of questions. But I think Clarkson's going to be a very good team this year. I think they're going to be solid. They're going to be good. They're going to be very good. Then let's look at the Lakers. West Bloomfield. Final 4 team a year ago. They lost to Belleville. 60-55. They lost Ava Lord, Brianna Gamble-Jones, Jaylee Head. They have Sharon and Beal coming back. They have London Hall, Tier Hopkins Butler, Rio Canelo, Lainey Williams, Samaya McPherson, Kayla Hall, Ellie Joliet, Sydney Chanel, and Kamitasu coming back. Also got 2 transfers from Ferndale, Anaya Davis and Melina Taylor. I'm telling you, Sheridan Beale's the real deal. Sheridan Beale is a talent. She is a proven player. London Hall is a proven player. Brianna Gamble-Jones, as a Tier Hopkins Butler, she's a proven player. I caught up with Coach McAllister talking about the state of the Lakers heading into the season. Some showtime, Coach Jerry McAllister here, Coach. This season you went back to Breslin, so how was that experience last year, and then how is it going to translate to this season?
It was a great experience last year. Not so much from the start. We were trying to put some things together at the beginning of the season. We played some of the toughest teams in the state and around Michigan, and at one point we were 1-4. But we got it together, got back in the gym, put the work in, and ultimately ended up going to the Final Four. Every season is a new opportunity, so looking forward to this opportunity. Hopefully we can build on what we started last year and have a good season, have some fun.
Talk about some additions. Obviously, you got Sheridan, got London. I've heard a lot. You brought in Anna Davis as one of them. So talk about the additions that you've had for you guys.
Well, I really don't like to talk about additions after we have tryouts to see who's going to come about. The reason I do that is last year, I spent most of the fall and most of basically most of the summer working out with a point guard. Point guard on the day before tryouts didn't show out, so I don't until after tryouts I don't start speaking on players that possibly come aboard. But I will say this: Sheridan Beale is more than ready this year. She's put in a lot of work. The other seniors, London Hall, Tara Hopkins, it's just, and then we talk about Kayla Hall. These kids are fun to be around. They work real hard, so I'm excited for them to see what they're going to do.
What is your expectations here, Coach?
My expectation is that it's the same as every year. We want to win the state championship. We got the mindset this year. We're trying to get back our crown. So every year, our expectation win the state championship.
Thank you really much, Coach.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Appreciate it. Yep.
That was West Bloomfield coach Jerry McAllister talking about the Lakers this year. They got the talent to win a state title. Got to get by Rockford. Got to get by Belleville. Those are not going to be easy games. So you think about that, and the schedule is brutal. The NPR is going to help. They're going to have to go through Orchard Lake St. Mary's. That's going to be very interesting. Orchard Lake St. Mary's is loaded in their district. Brad Crank does a really nice job of that program over there at St. Mary's. He's done a really nice job with them. So West Bloomfield, they're going to be a force this year to be reckoned with. They're going to be a force. And then there's Lake Orion. Last season, of course, Lake Orion lost Izzy Walensky and Charlotte Peplowski. Those are big losses for Coach Bob Bridges. But you look at this Dragon team, you know what I mean? You look at what Coach Bob Bridges has done in the past. They have played their best basketball in February. And they're going to have it again. They have some key players coming back from injury. When you look at a player like Riley House, who tore ACL against Ferndale last year. They have a player in they have another player in Trinity Hayes who who injured her ACL and MCL can be out maybe till February. You have returning players like Lala Hill, Danny Heck, Kara Veter, Jasmine Randolph, Audrey Heist, Liz Crawford, Brooke Armstrong, all coming back. Then you have a strong JV program. Like when you have players like Abby Nearing, Addie Walensky, and Mary Graves. Those are some players to really watch for Coach Bridges. So I caught up with Coach, and of course the 8th grade class that Lake Orion has coming up the system. That says a lot. They're going to be good. And that's not counting Kylie King, who's going to be a big-time player to watch for Lake Orion. So I caught up with Coach Bob Bridges talking about the state of the Dragons during media day. Coach the Dragons, Coach Bob Bridges here. Coach, this season a little bit young this year for you guys. So talk about the impact players that you have coming up this year.
I don't know about impact players, but I think it's going to be a big team effort this year. We're going to have to play a lot more team basketball. You lose kids like Izzy, Walensky, and Charlotte Poplawski, big-time scorers, big-time minute eaters for us last year. But we'll fill in nicely. We've got, 5 seniors that are coming back this year, so we'll look to them to kind of steady the ship until the younger kids get up and running fully. But overall, we'll work hard. We'll be good. I don't know how good, but we'll be ready for a competition come league season. So.
Talk about, obviously, you've been known for improving during the season comes along. Is it what you see with this group this year? The same process?
Every day is going to be a process. It's an individual skill development. It's a team development. They're going to have to learn to continue to play together, become better together. But overall, we've got a good group. They had a good summer, a good fall. Put in a lot of hard work, and we'll continue to put the hard work in for the next 4 months.
What is your expectation this year, Bob?
Listen, I never know exactly what you're going to get because it's a game-by-game situation. But we'll look to be competitive in the OAA Red again, competitive in districts again, and we'll see where it goes from there. Again, it'll depend a lot on how this team comes together and how well we embrace the team atmosphere.
Thank you really much, Coach.
Thank you.
So that was Lake Orion coach Bob Bridges talking about the outlook for the Lake Orion girls basketball team this upcoming season. So when you look at the Dragons, they got a tough schedule. Really tough schedule. It's going to be interesting because they're a young group. They're going to be, they got program strength, as I mentioned. They got, their sub-varsities are strong. You got the 8th grade class coming up that's going to be strong. They've done a really good job of program strength. Lake Orion has done a masterful job of program strength. So that's really going to be the key for them this year is going to be building on that program strength. They don't have a true superstar, which is, it's almost similar to their boys program. It's very dangerous. So Lake Orion could be a very scary team this year. They could be. But they could experience some struggles early. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a work in progress, as Coach Bridges says, day-by-day basis when talking about the Dragons. So overall in the Red, you got to look at, Clarkson's going to be solid. Everybody's been high on Clarkson. Everybody's been high on him. I think West Bloomfield, it's going to be hard to take the title away from West Bloomfield because who they got back at Sheridan Beal. West Bloomfield Clarkson split last year. West Bloomfield ended up beating him in the regional final. It's going to be interesting to see how those two teams mesh. I think right now West Bloomfield, I had to give them a little bit of the edge early on because of their experience. Yes, Clarkson's got experience, but West Bloomfield beat in the regional final last year, and that's really what it is right now early on. Stony Creek, I had them third, but very, very loosely because, as I mentioned earlier on, I got big-time concerns with Stony Creek. There are warning signs with that team, so to really watch for. So there are some warning signs with Stony Creek, despite having the Avash sisters, Jaden Freeman, and, of course, Samantha Fulkerson. I just got big-time concerns with Stony Creek when you look at this team. Big-time question marks with the Cougars this year. Rochester, Stella Marlowe, I think, could be in line for a monster year. They got it. Rochester's got a solid team, man. I really like where they're at. Yes, they lost Max and Robinson. Those are 2 big losses. But Coach Andrew Toppy's done a really nice job. And I think Rochester, they have program strength as well, so it's something to really watch for. They could make some noise this year. They could surprise some people. Then I have Lake Orion. Obviously, a young group. Day-by-day basis, you know what I mean? Lake Orion, kind of like that movie Night and Day. It's going to take a process for them. And we'll see what happens with them. And then Oxford, when you look at the Wildcats, Brockway and Champaign are going to be the 2 to watch. Who stands on the interior is my biggest question. Could it be a Jacobson? Could it be a Kopak? Those are some big time questions when you look at Oxford heading into the season. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Now they're not. Now I could be wrong with projections. Most of the time I always am, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna see what happens. Right now, you can look at the rankings, the top 10 rankings to start the year on my blog at SaginawBay4650 at blogspot.com. Also at Around the OA at Weebly.com as well. You can also take a look at the boys' season preview Also on the blog as well at SaginawBay4650 at blogspot.com. I also have the boys district, actually the boys basketball preview, also going to be up on the Orion Neighborhood Television YouTube page as well. So a lot to look forward to this winter, especially in the sport of basketball. Basketball, of course, we're getting to the the boys will be underway pretty soon. The girls are going to get started pretty soon. We'll see what happens heading in the year. Everybody, we're signing off here. Make sure you follow the blog and also follow the podcast at OA Now. Cover everything around the OA. Take care, God bless, and I will see you all next week. God bless all.